That's right. The birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution from Cowork 591 Studios. We are the Bohemian Underground with producer Blake Tempus and co-host Dale Rueber. I am Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for April 7th, 2025. Tonight we are proud to sponsor, as we just inked a second contract with Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. The Farrells are so kind to sponsor this podcast, and we want to thank them and ask our audience to please include them in your wedding, graduation, or festival plans. Don't wait. Their schedule's filling up for 2025. I know right now, every Friday night, they're down behind St. Athanasius Church. Dale, did you go down?
I did not last Friday. I was gone last Friday. So.
Yeah, I was too. But they are down behind St. A's serving lobster rolls.
Do you know how long they'll be doing that?
During Lent.
During Lent?
Yeah,
okay.
During Lent. Another sponsor who's been with us since our inception is Derek's Repair, located in Jesup, Iowa. Contact Derek Marty for your car repair needs. Also, check out the podcast, What Is Up, with our friend Bubba Seaman. Bubba had his the first time he preached on last week, and he talked about some neat things. You get a chance to watch last week's show. It drops, I believe, on 10 o'clock on Fridays. We drop at 10 on Mondays. They drop 10 on Fridays.
So it was like a church service kind of
thing?
Yeah,
it was.
Okay.
It was actually church service. He was preaching from the pulpit.
Okay, so at a church. It wasn't in his basement. Okay.
Yeah. Another sponsor, also tonight we're talking about Raphael, and we're going to go to school. We want to talk about the artist collaboration a little bit. We're going to look at the Rolling Stone. We want to talk about Democratic leaders. We want to look at baseball's opening day. We're going to introduce a new segment sponsored by Dad's Tools called The Tool of the Day.
Okay, the Tool of the Day. All right.
And we're going to celebrate the year's events with the Steve Brown Art Center. We're just getting started, so welcome. Dale, let's talk about the mess they call the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And it is a mess right now. Dale, I know you're a strong Democrat. Who's your leader?
Joe Biden, of course, is our leader.
Our leader. Now, don't put me in that boat. He's not my leader.
This is interesting because I just saw a news thing, I think earlier this morning, about who the Democratic leader was. And the senator is a Booker that did the filibuster talk for. I wondered. You wonder if he was putting himself up for I'm available, if that was part of the idea behind that, because the Democrats, they need somebody. But then they showed this congresswoman from Texas, a Democrat.
Well, what was her name?
Well, see, I didn't write it down because I didn't know I was going to be talking about it tonight.
That's all right.
But she has a sharp mouth and a very witty, a little bitty thing.
Is that Lisa Rochester?
That doesn't sound right, but they asked her what she thought about a certain individual. She said, F him, So, and so they were putting her up as someone who's not afraid to speak her mind.
Interesting.
And so yeah, I don't know. I'm worried more about the Democrats in Iowa because I don't see anybody. There's 3 or 4 said they want to put their hat in the ring to run against Our Lady Senator.
I know. Mental block. I will think of her here in a minute.
That all the time. None of them look like they were real go-getters, but that's picture in the paper doesn't tell you. Yeah, but right now the Democrats don't have anybody with a ton of charisma and is out there talking to the people that I know of. It's interesting that Sanders is out there, and he's 80-some years old. He's still getting a huge crowd, and so that kind of is disconcerting because we need to go a little younger, I think.
Well, he's out there. He's out there with AOC, though. That lady from up there, from New York State. I think he's trying to hand his power over to her.
Oh, I see. Okay, pass it along.
Yeah.
All right. I had not heard that, but it's very plausible.
Yeah, and that's the discussion. Is the Democratic Party go all in and go even farther left and go communism because they tried to buy the election in Wisconsin and lost it. I mean, Elon went in there and gave money away basically. If you couldn't get it away for voting, but he gave it away, you signed a petition. And
then he had a drawing, I think 2 drawings for $1 million out of the people that signed the petition. But there was a thing on the news this afternoon that said that Trump has suggested to Elon that he needs to go look after his businesses. So maybe he's tiring of this whole thing. I don't know.
But you go back to my question, Dale. Who's the Democratic leader? You know, a lot of people say if Obama could run, he'd be the leader. You argue Harris. Some people argue. So I'm going to give you names. You may or may not know these names. Go 1 to 10. How big a leader are they in the Democratic Party? Okay. Obama, 10. 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
Well, I would say I don't know how much behind the scenes influence he has, but he's not making any statements or coming out. So I'm going to say like a 2 or 3 right now.
Okay, Harris.
I would give her a 2 or 3 also. She's not making any statements, and I think she would have a tough time coming back after.
Bernie Sanders.
He's probably a 6 or 7 right now because a lot of people still listen to him.
Bernie or Tim Walz.
I say, well, maybe a 4. I can't see him coming out of nowhere like a skyrocket or anything and taking things over. It just doesn't seem like that's his personality. So
Bill Clinton.
2 or 3. Could have some influence, but not a tremendous amount.
Hillary Clinton.
Again, even lower. I don't. The country has been programmed not to like her, and so I'd say 1 or 2 with her.
Joe Biden.
I would say 2 or 3. Down in there.
AOC.
And I don't know who's that. AOC?
That's a lady from the Latin American lady from New York City that was she was a bartender and she won the Senate seat.
Oh, okay. I don't know enough about her to even hazard a guess. So
she was one of the four women that went in and made Pelosi's life so tough, so hard.
Yeah.
So you gotta have a number. If you don't know her, that can't be high.
Yeah. 5. She was okay. Go ahead. I just saw it. 5 because she's active.
Hakeem Jeffries,
and that is
he's senator, African American senator, leads the Black coalition in Congress.
I'll say 5. He's in there and he's got a chance to grow.
Ruben Gallego. I believe Gallego is from the Southwest somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know him.
Joe Kennedy.
I don't like him. You see, the guy's always using those, you got to shoot from the hip and don't bite your lip and that kind of stuff.
I thought he's grand. I thought he
was a Republican. There's a Kennedy that's a Republican.
There's another Kennedy, though, that is a Democrat. That's that is a great-grandson of old Joe.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these family dynasties, so I would say a 3.
Seth Mullen.
Say again who that is.
Okay.
Mullen. Do you know who he is?
Mullen would be, again, I think he's the junior senator from Massachusetts.
Yeah. He's active, so 2 or 3, but...
Joaquin Castro from Texas.
I know, he had some good numbers. I'd give him like a 7, because he had some good numbers early on in the last campaign, right? Wasn't he making some points with people?
So is he your leader?
Well, right now he's at my highest score. I don't know. He could be. Castro was a good leader in Cuba,
Ben Lugin. You get us in trouble in Miami with our numbers down there, Dale. Get the Pharaohs blocked in Miami. They won't be able to do business there.
I know. Okay, yeah. They'd be ashamed they couldn't eat that pizza down there.
Yeah.
So who's this last guy?
Ben Lugin.
I don't know him.
And Lisa Rochester, both of them up and comers. That's problem. That's why I gave you those names, Dale.
Yeah.
Either has-beens or they don't have a name.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the leader?
Well, but like Obama gave that one speech at the national convention, and then 4 years later he's running for president. And that national speech is the thing that opened him up and got him a lot of notice. And so what we're waiting for is somebody to do something that's interesting and looks like there's potential there. And so far, we haven't got that, as far as I know.
Well, do you turn on, what direction do you take as Democrats? I mean, because Republicans have taken the money.
Yeah.
Although they got their butt kicked in Wisconsin yesterday.
And wasn't there a billionaire that supported the Democrats up in Wisconsin also?
Well,
I thought I saw that some billionaire gave a lot of money.
Well, they want to say that. They want to say that. I didn't hear how they did down in Florida in those special elections.
The Republicans won, but they got half the numbers that Trump got last November. Of course, fewer people come out in this kind of election,
right.
But the two Republicans did win.
Can they wait till 26 to right the ship?
Oh, I think so. So a lot is depending on whether or not these next 2 years how they go, and if they don't go like Trump's saying they're going to go, then things could change a lot in that election, which they usually do. But if everything's a big success, well then it'd be hard to unseat any of those Republicans. So
there's about 24 Republican senators that are scared to death of Trump right now. Mm-hmm. That if things go bad, they're going to lose. They're going to lose their hold in their state.
Yeah.
I don't know how they change that. We gotta get out. Who's the presidential candidate for the Democrats in 20?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Make a guess, Dale. Pressure's on. It's not good media to say I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but maybe I'm not the Democratic expert people have, just to make me look bad.
No.
Well, right now I'm going to go with this Booker, this senator that did the filibuster. He's showing some spirit, and he's certainly got the physical attributes. I mean, he's able to do that for 25 hours in a row.
He went
24 something, right?
Who did he go? Whose record did he beat?
Strom Thurmond, the racist segregationist.
There you go. That's why it was such a big deal.
Yeah.
That was such a big deal. Very good. You are a Democrat, Dale. So my choice, the guy that's going to come out leading, is the guy from Kentucky, the governor of Kentucky, and his name escapes me.
Okay.
But here's a Democrat leading a Republican state. Mm-hmm. Now, I would say the guy from California, but he's shooting himself in the foot left and right.
Yeah.
Just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Well, I know they were getting after this, and I won't say the lady, but she said something that, the Texas governor's in a wheelchair, and she said something that maybe wasn't quite politically correct about a person that's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that would be a big deal or not, but it's usually not good to let the air out of the tires of somebody's wheelchair.
No, it's not. But Trump's got away with it. He attacked that.
That's the thing, see, is that nobody plays the game. Nobody calls him Big Fat Donnie every time they talk about him like he talks. And he talked about Sleepy Joe Biden when he was talking about these tariffs he's putting in. Well, he needs to get over that. I mean, the man was president. He deserves some respect because he got enough votes to be president.
Yeah.
For someone to just talk down, and he talked badly about other presidents also that did what it takes to do what he's doing. And my whole thing is, if you have to keep telling people how wonderful you are, then there must be some doubt. You think about the great people in the world; they don't walk around saying, I'm a great center fielder, or I'm a great this or that. People know it. You don't have to be talking about it all the time. And he is always talking about how he's the best ever and the greatest in history, and I'm the one that thought of it. And he doesn't have to win any more elections. He may try to, but he needs to. A little humility goes a long way sometimes.
Well, let's talk about that while we got a second here. How can he run for a third election?
Yeah, well, he's hinting at that, and his helpers he just likes to joke with the media. Then they play a tape. Talked with a lady from NBC. She says, I'm not joking about this, And so the only way I've heard is he could do like what Putin did, is have somebody else run in his place, and he would be vice president.
But I don't think that's legal either, Dave.
Well, I don't know if it's legal or not, but that's the only way anybody has put up as a possible method that I've... And, changing or adding an amendment or getting rid of an amendment in the Constitution is a very complex...
Oh, it's a nightmare.
And it's put in there so... Purposely, they made it very, very hard to do, the Founding Fathers. And so I can't see it going that way. And so I don't know. I don't think it can be done. I really don't.
I heard a senator that I really respect yesterday, a Democratic senator, on the Daily, I believe it was, talking about this. And he said he's watching the changes that he's making, and it's realistic. Mm-hmm. That a change is going to be made.
A change for Another term, you mean?
Yeah,
Or just
for
in
another
general?
term. You know, I'm afraid what would happen, Dale, in our country if that.
That would be
like
bad.
it's sort of like if Social Security was taken away
Yeah.
or if Medicare was taken away.
Yeah.
You know, our country would be in anarchy.
Well, it would be the gray wave attacking
It would
Washington,
be.
D.C. I mean,
Well, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people our age, Dale, and I'm not threatening, and please, no one take this as a threat to our president or anyone. But there's a lot of people our age that own guns.
well,
Dale.
everybody has guns, and so yeah, it would be rough. You know, the economy in general. I mean, you think of all the money that's spent every month from Social Security checks, and that's billions of dollars. There's a lot of businesses. I know a lot of restaurants that are making it because of the old crowd that comes in every morning for breakfast and coffee and, you know, eats lunch there and everything. People don't get an hour off for lunch from their business anymore. They, you know, it's just, there's not that much traffic if you don't have a huge amount of people, free time and money, and will come and spend some time in your restaurant or whatever. So I think it'd be really hard on the economy, and I think they would have a tough time getting that past anybody.
Now, I was listening to another, and you can tell I was on the road the last 2 days. I was listening to another podcast yesterday, and this man said, because there was a woman in the house that shut the house down for 9 days. We're paying these people to work in Washington, and this lady shut the house down for 9 days. Do you know what that's about?
No, I don't.
She asked that the House allow a vote by what is it when you want to vote and you pass, you give, like I give my vote to you to take
proxy.
a vote. She asked because she's pregnant, she wants to be able to vote by proxy.
Okay.
And
That's against the rules?
that's against the rules in the
okay.
house. She got mad and shut the house down.
Uh-huh.
This guy just went crazy because Trump is trying to pass tax changes. Here you go. It's UBI is what it is. Allow you and I not to have to pay taxes on our Social Security
Yeah.
and other things.
Which we're already not doing in Iowa.
In Iowa,
Yeah.
that would be our universal basic income, Dale.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way.
Well, there's a bill in Iowa now about if you own a home, you get a $25,000 exemption. A homestead exemption would go to $25,000, and the veterans money you get from it would go from $3,000 to $7,000. So that means I could take $32,000 off my the value of my home when it comes to paying property tax.
Okay.
And the money's got to come from someplace.
Yeah,
They've
oh,
already
yeah.
made it hard for cities and counties and school boards to
Right.
the 2% cap they put on everything. And then if they exempt another classification of people from having to pay property tax, well, the money's got to come from someplace. So I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, well, the argument is you don't pay taxes, you have the money.
Yeah.
You have that money.
Yeah.
You can spend it.
But would I, see?
Well, but people would. There's some people that would. You know, we argued this with Bubba that day. I mean, if you don't want to spend it, give it to somebody else.
Well, you just put it aside.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go on here. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. And we are the Bohemian Revolution. Dale, I used to love to get the Rolling Stone, the magazine.
Okay.
Did you?
I was not a big reader of that.
You didn't. You
No.
didn't like it,
Well, not that I didn't like it, just never was available
right?
where I was at, and so I don't think I've ever read a copy.
You never did.
I don't think so, but I like the song on the cover of the
Yeah,
Rolling
the
Stone.
co-
I thought that was good.
I do too. Who sings that?
I can't.
The band.
The band. Okay, yeah, Bob Dylan's band. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
band.
All right.
So here are some of the top 10 covers of the Rolling Stone.
Okay.
Tell me if you agree with these. The Beatles.
Oh yeah.
They were on there 30 times.
30 times. Yeah.
Yep.
Well deserved.
Jessica Simpson. Do you remember her? She dated Troy Aikman. She was she was a movie star for a while.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of the cartoon, The Simpsons.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I don't know why she would be on that many times. How many times is she on?
She was on there one
Once,
time.
yeah. Okay.
And of course the band, the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger. was on twice. Janis Joplin on once. Michael Jackson as a kid when he was, when most of our listeners would not remember this, and the Jacksons had a television show.
Mm-hmm. And it was the Jackson 5 was his family band, and when his father beat them.
John Lennon and Yoko Ono were on.
I'm prejudiced against Yoko Ono, but I can see where they would be on there because they were a big cultural thing.
Yes.
And so,
Jim Morris.
Yeah, he was really big.
The Britney Spears.
See, Val Kilmer died. Did you see that?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw Val Kilmer.
Played Jim Morrison in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about Val here in just a second. Johnny Cash was on the cover of the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, for a good thing or a bad thing. It doesn't matter. But I guess was very big. Yeah. So I can see where he would make the cover.
And the number one cover of all time, David Bowie.
See, I was never a big David Bowie.
I was never either.
Yeah, so that wouldn't do anything for me.
I never understood the popularity of David Bowie.
No, I never did either. So,
but he was a hit. I mean, people loved him.
Oh well, sure, yeah.
But going back, it's sort of like Val Kilmer. You talked about Val Kilmer, and David Bowie was a little bit like Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer was born in '59, so he'd have been 66.
65, I think they gave us his age when he died.
But he was a star, man. Played Batman, was in Top Gun twice.
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick, the one that brought theater back.
Yeah, it was The Doors.
Played Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday and
Tombstone. He made a traveling show. He was a big Mark Twain fan. Made his own traveling show of Mark Twain.
Oh, like a one-man show kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. Somebody told me when I first came, and I really missed that. I miss this man. Somebody told me that Paul Hummus did that over in Independent. The year before I came.
I don't recall that, but there was an actor that did Mark Twain. Or they had a one-man show. No, I can't think of his name, but he did a one-man show with Mark Twain. This would be 30 years ago. That was quite popular.
Yeah. My two favorite movies of Val Kilmer were Tombstone, and he played in one that came out in '97. It was called The Saint,
I don't recall
in which he called himself different saints in the movie. It was really done really well. He was fighting the Russian mafia in the movie.
I don't recall that one.
He was tall, big man, but he battled weight problems. I saw one picture of him with Mark Twain, and he was way overweight. And I remember him playing Doc Holliday, and he was just skinny. I mean, his weight fluctuated.
Sure. And there are actors that have shortened their lives, cutting a lot of weight to portray someone who was emaciated. Very skinny.
Yeah.
And so, but I can see him as someone who would do that for a role, to cut a lot of weight. So.
Well, I've had a doctor tell me before that Tom Hanks has got type 2 diabetes because of what he did.
Yeah.
He's done that several times.
Sure. Yeah.
One was in the one where he was caught on the island.
Castaway.
Castaway.
Yeah.
And the other one, he lost a ton of weight in Forrest Gump.
I bet, with all the running he did, and
I can see that happening. But Val Kilmer did at 65.
Yeah,
he had throat cancer. He got throat cancer in 2013 and beat it, and got pneumonia recently. And couldn't beat it.
Yeah.
So
he was, when they made Top Gun Maverick, he was sick, and they had, I don't know if they used AI or somehow when he did his lines, they had to help him. They wanted him to be in the movie, but he was ill at that time, and not doing well, and so they had to make provisions for him so he could do his part.
Okay.
So
that's the 5 best covers, or the 10 best covers of the Rolling Stones.
Okay.
So Dale, what do you have for Jesup news?
Well, a few things. We are here at Cowork 591, and we try to let you know what's going to be happening here, in case you're not able to drive by and see the sign, but. On Tuesday, the 8th, Gibby's Food Truck is here from 11 to 6:30. And then it's called Spring Fling Shopping with Jay Bloom and Just the Girls from 4:30 to 6:30.
Really?
Yes. And I was talking to Ken. I should have asked her what that was about. I didn't see the fine print there. But that's on Tuesday. Spring Fling Shopping with Jay Bloom and Just the Girls, 4:30 to 6:30. I don't know. Could be something to do with prom. I know there are these
It
places
might.
where you can buy gently used prom dresses and this sort of thing. That would make sense. So, but that's the only food truck they have this week, and the only activity is that spring fling that's on their calendar. So
It's a terrible time to go on a diet, didn't I, Dale?
it really is, you know.
Yeah.
I told my wife I was going to race you to 210 or whatever, and she said, "Well, did you weigh yourself yet?" I said, "No, not yet." I wish Gillespie buys in, you know. The Steve Brown Art Center, we got a couple pages of activities laid out for this year so far. And on April the 13th, and they have this each year, is the Steve Brown Art Center going to have their art collection available at the Littleton Chatham Historical Society in Littleton, and they're having their breakfast on April the 13th from 8 to 11. And that's a fundraiser they do for the Historical Society there in Littleton. But you'll get to see the whole collection you're bringing.
I'll bring probably about 15 items.
Okay. Then also in April is the Artists Collaborative at the Jesup American Lutheran Church's second meeting.
Second meeting.
On the 28th, and that's at 6:30 to 8. And so that was pretty successful the last time. We hope that people will come. And so those two things are the extra things outside of the podcasts that we have going on in April. Okay?
Yeah.
And so we hope people take advantage of that.
Okay. All right.
The library, still we do the library. We try to promote the library because we believe it's so important to use the library and keep it funded and to get your kids into the library. But the exercise group is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8. It's still going. The Little Tot Story Time every Thursday at 10:30. Game Day Friday is April the 18th. And let's go join the Dealt Hand for a morning of board games. They'll have 200 games there if you like to do board games.
What day is that?
The April the 18th is a Friday at 11 o'clock. And this Dealt Hand will have a host on site to recommend, teach, and support players. And so if you want to learn about different games, they'll have an expert there to help you. And it's open to all ages. Also Friday, the April 18th in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, this Dealt Hand, the School of Adventure, to learn the basics of Dungeons and Dragons and participate in an epic adventure. Designed for middle and high school students, not recommended for the younger kids. They have fun and play at the library every Thursday from 8 to 9 for the younger kids, toys, games, no charge for any of this. And the library is closed during that time, so the kids kind of have free reign there, can do what they want without having to worry about it too much. The crime writing workshop is April the 8th. Award-winning author Betty Brandt will be there to lead participants on how to write a crime novel. And April the 12th is the Irish paper folding, the easy art of paper folding. I've never found it easy, but it says it is, so maybe it was instruction. Even I could do it. April the 21st, to be warmer, they're going to do the chalk, the public library out on the sidewalks. Large positive messages is what they're looking for. And the movie is April 28th. It's called Here, starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. And that's an hour and 44 minutes, free admission and free popcorn. They're still doing the card games. Becky said they're getting a small attendance, but pretty steady. On Tuesdays at 1 o'clock, and I have yet to make that, though I think it would be a good thing. Books and Brews is tonight, Monday, April the 7th at 6:30 at the Allerton Brewing Company. And the book is called The Unhoneymooners, but if you want to come and just see what it's all about, they would welcome you to be there. And then April the 21st, they're going to have a book called The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich for their book Chat Club. And I'm not familiar with that book, but I should try to find out. Up at the school, Farmers Day, we're having a meeting soon, and we're going to talk about advertising, so we are to the point where we're going to actually be doing something, getting our advertisings ready. And if you love pigs, that's my only clue. If you're a hog person, then you'll need to come to Farmers Day this year. The school, this is prom weekend coming up. They have the Grand March on, Friday, and then prom is on Saturday. On the 14th, they're having the 5th grade concert. That's from 2:45 to 3:15, and so that's during the school day. So I imagine that would be the 5th grade band, and they had a whole year to work, and so. Track and field on the 8th is a girls' meet at Jesup with lots of schools coming. On the 10th, they're having a golf meet at the South Hills Golf Center, and track and field, boys and girls at Independence, also on the 10th. And the Grand March is the 11th, the prom is the 12th, and track and field, there's a boys' meet at Iowa City West High School in Iowa City.
Okay.
So that's a Saturday morning, starts at 10:30. And so that's the schedule that I have for the different activities going on. You see, the city's been working on the streets, do the cement patching like they do every year. And so that's going on. And everybody's out and working on the days that are halfway decent. Mm-hmm. And so getting things nice. So that is coming up. So that's kind of the activities that are coming up around the town. this next week or so.
A little bit about the movie Here. The point of the movie Here is to explore the interconnectedness of lives and the passage of time through the lens of single, fixed location, a New England house and its inhabitants across generations. So they use AI to age like Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and they make them younger as well in the movie.
We need to get that in here.
We do.
Yeah.
Just fix my body, Dave.
Well, some things are beyond fixing, James.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But thank you. Thank you. This is Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network. We have a new segment. It's called the Tool of the Day.
Okay, I can hardly wait.
Sponsored by Dad's Tool.
Yeah.
We're still looking for sponsors for this, but it's Dad's Tool.
May I
this
ask you
week.
one thing?
Yes.
And maybe he'll have to cut this, but is it Rolling Stone rated movies with the Peter meter? Or was that a different?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay.
I don't recall.
All right. Well, all right. Go ahead.
Look that up, Blake. Can you look that up, please?
He's too embarrassed.
We need to look.
If Rolling Stone rated movies with a Peter meter. Hope that's not a company computer there that you're on.
Not.
Yeah.
You were starting with what?
Starting with the Tool of the Day.
Tool of the Day. Okay, that's what reminded me of the Peter meter.
Did they,
Not
Blake?
that I can find.
Okay, all right.
Maybe that was on some other magazine that I shouldn't have been reading. I think he gave a half-hearted effort. I'm going to do that on my own.
You're talking yourself into a lot of trouble, Dale.
Yes.
You're talking about hard problems here, Dale. Be careful. Be careful, Dale. You're getting red on us over there, Dale.
Okay.
All right. The Tool of the Day. Back to the Tool of the Day. Sponsored by Dad's Tool.
Okay.
All right. In this episode, we're talking about the Tool of the Day is who made the biggest mistake recently throughout our country or throughout the world. I would argue.
That has to do with tools or just...
No,
oh, okay.
no.
All right.
No.
The biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would argue my choice for the Tool of the Day is Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth, because he was on that chain of texts on the non-government, and he is the Secretary of War. Now they argue
Defense.
it was defense.
yeah.
He used to be the Secretary of War.
Yeah, long ago.
Yeah,
Before I was born.
Yeah, there you go. And so
Apparently you were around.
yeah, I was around, but he argued it wasn't war plan. It's a use of words there. It's verbiage is what it is.
Yeah.
Battle plan.
Sure.
What's the difference between battle plans and war plans, Dale?
Nothing that I know of. You would think war plans would be all encompassing rather than just a battle is just a certain area.
Yes.
But he's just trying to weasel out of it, I think.
Well, he is, and here's the thing. You got 18 of Trump's people on this signal, and Hillary was the only one that they hammered on that. Now, I'm sure there were other people involved in the government, I guarantee in the government. They did not drag them up. And they could have drugged them up. But Pete Hegseth is my tool of the day. First, the inaugural. The inaugural. We won't put them into a Hall of Fame until we get a sponsor up here behind us.
Okay, you're using tool in a way I did not realize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is the defense guy that took the blame for it, that set up the meeting?
Well, Wallace.
Yeah. And he said that reporter's number was sucked into this conference, and everybody's saying, well, how does that happen? But he just got sucked into it, and so.
Well, now here, and he used to be a senator, I believe.
Did
Either
he?
a senator,
Okay,
senator, and I'm sure he talked to him at some point.
Yeah.
But Dale, there's ways now, and I can't do this, but there's ways now where if I take my phone and I click by yours and I hit a certain setting, I can transfer stuff to you,
Sure. Yeah.
or you can transfer stuff to me.
Well, he said, and this is what he said he'd never met this guy. And then they flashed a picture up of the two of them standing side by side at a certain event. And, I just hate it that everybody's lying. And it's so easy to catch them at it, but they don't seem to have any shame, And so, I don't know. But yeah, I think that bothers me most. The government we have now is that they lie so easily. Sometimes, you need to be able to trust people for what they say. We don't have that now, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. That is the tool of the day.
The tool of the day.
Brought to you by Dad's Tools.
Dad's Tools, okay.
Yeah, so we are looking for a sponsor for that.
Isn't Dad's Tools sponsoring us?
Yeah, Dad's Tools the problem is they're in my garage.
Oh, I see. Dad's Tools are in your garage. Okay.
So, Dale, tonight I want to talk about, Dale, did anybody talk to you? I got to ask, did anybody talk to you about the old leather man?
No one did.
I think I bored people to death with that.
I was telling my wife about it. I'll be honest. I said, I honestly don't know why or what the point of the story was, So, but no, no one has talked to me about the leather man, so I haven't gotten any bad comments.
Interesting.
So,
the point of the story is, a lot of people, they drop out of, their dream is to drop out of society.
Okay.
And live in a cabin away from everybody. Mm-hmm. And here is a man that walked years on end. Mm-hmm. People could set their calendar and almost their watch to him. And he didn't really drop out of society. He stayed in society, but he kept walking. He wasn't involved in society. He needed that human touch.
So he was caught between two worlds, kind of. You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably still true today. I don't know if they would let people do that. If they would call social services, or this guy's living in a cave, or he's all he does is walk and he wears this old leather coat. They may not think that was a good thing.
There's a lot of people out there, Dale, that don't have much, that don't have, that live day by day.
Yeah. I've known people like that in my life.
Yeah.
Growing up, I knew quite a few people that lived in very small homes that were heated by a wood stove, and had a dog that they just fed scraps to, was their only friend, and they stayed away from society, and I don't know what they were living on, but they very seldom communicated with anybody. There was a guy that lived, and I grew up when it would be in the 50s, but he lived just west of town. If you go across the West Bridge, not even a quarter mile, and I think he owned this field out there, but he had a house. And it was made of straw. I mean, I'm sure it had some kind of framework, but it was covered just with straw. And he had a couple of workhorses. And we were always scared to death of him. And every now and then he'd walk into town to that little grocery store. Right. It was the only time you ever saw him out away from his land. But the story I had heard was that he was maybe even a World War I, but a war veteran, and had some problems and just was off by himself.
Yeah.
And that was the way he lived his life. And nowadays, you would say, okay, this guy has no running water in there. He has no sewer system. He had, they would probably not let him live like that. But that's the way he chose to live. And as far as I know, he never bothered anybody, and people let him live.
Yeah.
So I've known people.
But anyhow, this week's story, not meant to bore people, but is Raphael's piece of art called The School of Athens.
Okay.
Do you know it, Dale?
I have heard of it, but I don't know what it depicts.
The School of Athens is a Renaissance fresco art. Fresco is wet plaster and wet watercolor paint mixed together that depicts a gathering of ancient philosophers in grand architectural setting. It's beautiful. It's symbolizing the pursuit of knowledge and the harmony between secularism and Christianity.
Okay.
So it's the argument between, did God develop this earth? Is man? Did man make this earth? Mm-hmm. The frescoes was committed by Pope Julius II for the Stans Dei Signature, the room of signatures in the Vatican. It's the Pope's quarters is what it is.
Okay.
And the purpose was intended to be a library and a space for intellectual discourse, and the frescoes were designed to celebrate different branches of knowledge. And that's one of the things that draws me to Renaissance art. The purpose, or the symbolism, the School of Athens represents philosophy showcasing the greatest thinkers from classical antiquity gathered in a grand architectural setting. So it talks about philosophy, it talks about architecture, it talks about science, it talks about mathematics,
okay.
It talks about education in this. The painting aims to demonstrate the harmony between pagan philosophy, so earlier, before Christianity,
Sure.
and Christian teachings, suggesting that the pursuit of knowledge, regardless of its origins, is a valuable endeavor. The setting with its classical columns, and if you look at our picture, has arches, creates a sense of order and grandeur, reflecting the importance of philosophy and knowledge. The painting utilizes linear perspective, creating a sense of depth, so you can see a depth in it. If you look at the art before Renaissance, the art was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden now you can see depth, you can see light, you can see features on humans. You know, I mean, Raphael was the son of an artist. His dad died when he was 11, and his mother and him ran his dad's art shop. And this is how big his dad was. You have to remember that artists then had assistants.
Would sometimes paint on some of the paintings.
Yeah.
Contributed. There are people who look at paintings, okay, was this done by Raphael or was this done by Raphael's studio?
Right.
And trying to determine all these years is tough.
This was set up, that the process of this started with a drawing by Raphael. There's no doubt there was a drawing. And that drawing is still around. And then there was a cartoon of it. It was the second phase. And he included a woman in there. And I wish I could remember the woman's name. But the Pope didn't want a woman painted in the quarters, so he made him take this woman out. And if you look at the painting, I'll bring a copy of it up after we're done tonight for you to see, Dale. But you look at the painting, and one of the center people in this painting looks just like a woman. Historians argue that woman is the Pope's favorite nephew. And there's another painting of the Pope's favorite nephew, and it looks just like that person But Raphael uses vibrant color palette and realistic lighting, enhancing the clarity and dynamism of the scene. Raphael's masterful brushwork and attention to detail are evident in the figures, expression, and gestures, conveying the sense of intellectual engagement and debate. So here's an interpretation. If you look at it, here are some of the people in there. Plato and Aristotle are the main.
Sure.
So Plato points upward, pointing to God.
Yeah.
Aristotle walks with his hand down, meaning earthly. Pythagoras, the famous mathematician, the Pythagorean theory, is in there depicting writing a book. Heraclitus, a philosopher.
Philosopher, okay.
Yeah, a Greek philosopher. But Heraclitus also looks like Michelangelo. And Michelangelo was Raphael's arch rival. You have Socrates is in there. Another philosopher that Plato was educated by. Another mathematician.
Right.
Depicted as Archimedes, an astronomer.
Okay.
One of Alexander's main generals.
Okay.
Alexander the Great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Holding the globe. You have to remember the greatest library in the world at that time was in Alexander. Yeah. Zoroaster, the Persian prophet and philosopher. A lot of people argue that Christianity was born out of Zoroastrianism.
Okay.
Diogenes, a cynic philosopher. Raphael himself is in there in the portrait. Some of the other figures include Alexander the Great, Anaxander, Asinius, Antisthenes, and there's a number of others. The reason I wanted to talk about that, Dale, is I'm trying to do a project here this summer, and I've reached out to a number of artists. I want to do a replica of the School of Athens. Remember, the School of Athens was 18 feet by 25 feet.
Okay, a whole wall kind of thing. Okay.
So 25 feet long, 18 feet high. So it'd be about twice the ceiling, almost the ceiling. This might be a little higher. This is about 10 feet.
Foot, yeah.
But most ceilings in houses are 9 feet or thereabout.
8 or 9. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do And at first, I wanted to do a life-size replica, and I thought, how am I going to do that? That's 450 square feet of art. And so I had one artist talk me out of that and say, well, shrink it down to 4 by 8. So we need 32 artists, and each artist would have 1 square foot of the painting.
Okay.
And I want to do 9 to 90.
And what are you putting in these? Each square foot would be.
We are painting the School of Athens, so we're going to grid it off.
Oh, I see.
So
I see. Okay.
We're going to grid it off. Great challenge, Dave.
Oh yeah, it would be.
So what we would do is first take the School of Athens and grid it to 8 feet or 4 by 8 is what we'd have to do. Mm-hmm. Then after we grid it 4 by 8, we would take it to Signs and More and make a copy of 2 by 4. Cut that copy up 32 pieces. Mm-hmm. Give each person their copy. Then give their copy, or give them a white grid of 1 square foot. Mm-hmm. They would have to paint their first they'd have to draw it.
Yeah.
Then the next week they would have to paint it. Mm-hmm. Then we would take it, put all these 32 pieces on the board, put a plexiglass cover on it,
sure,
and show it.
Mm-hmm. That would be artists from the area.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be, I'd like, hopefully, if your kids were still young enough, you could bring all 3 of them down, and you and Deb could get 5 blocks, and each of you would do a block.
Okay, I assumed you wanted something better than that.
Well, not necessarily. Yeah. No, that's the purpose of it, is we're doing our own version of this.
So you're not necessarily looking for professional artists or anything.
If we wanted to do that, we would raise thousands of dollars, because this is an amazing piece of art, Dale. I mean, there's just there's a poor version of it right there. You take a look at that. Mm-hmm. And that is, imagine the detail of it.
Oh, yeah.
Break that down into 32 pieces. Whoever has that box has a pretty easy. That's for me, that black box. But whoever has, like, where Zoroaster and Socrates is, that's a nightmare, because they got to do two people.
Sure, it's crowded in that corner.
It's crowded in that
crowded
corner.
all the way along the back and everything.
Yeah,
so they would be doing more than one person.
They would be.
Parts of.
You have some people doing the floor here, or the steps. This is Michelangelo here, laying there. Diogenes is who Raphael claims it is, but if you look hard enough at it, it's Michelangelo. But it's a great challenge. Now, I don't know how. Kelly at first recommended that we do it during Farmers Day, and people come and paint. The problem is that you or I or Blake would have to draw the whole picture.
Sure.
First.
Yeah.
People would paint then. That's why I want everybody to draw their own part.
Sure.
Now maybe it's just a dream, Dale. I don't know if it's realistic enough. Mm-hmm. But that's what I'd like to do.
Okay.
It's not on our schedule for the year.
Well, it's just when you can get it organized, you can do it.
Yeah.
But you need 32 people.
You need 32
that would be
people.
interested in doing that. So.
You and I could. It wouldn't be hard to get 32 people.
Yeah.
There's enough people in the community that would do it, and then paint it. Now my Antigone is going to be way different than your Socrates.
Why? Certainly hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. But in art skill, as well as drawing skill and everything else.
Okay. Now you'll need equipment. You'll need paint and brushes.
We've got paint. We've got brushes.
Yeah, the paint that you need.
Acrylic.
The colors and.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we do.
All right. Paint and the brushes, and you would need a place if you're gonna.
Well, we'd probably have to do it in the pavilion.
If you did it during Farmers Day.
Oh no!
If you did
just in the summertime, do it in the pavilion.
Let people take it home and say, bring it back next week or anything like that.
We could work for an hour and then say, all right, take your stuff home.
Sure. Okay.
And bring it back next week, finished.
Okay. Well, so you got a plan then.
Yeah. There's a plan. You got like Pete Higgs says. I'll take that plan up now.
Yeah.
The plan's got to work. The war plan's got to work.
Yeah.
The Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Dale, you got something on sports betting. What do you got?
Well, I was going to talk about sports gambling is in Final Four in the men and the women. They say over $3 billion bet on that just in America. But sports gambling, in June of 1990, there was a Senate hearing, and the bigwigs from the NFL and the Major League Baseball and pro basketball and hockey were testifying. They wanted to, they said, if we cannot allow gambling in sports if we're going to keep the integrity and character of sport. And so that was kind of the rule and the law of the land. But in 2018, the Supreme Court ruled that gambling is a state concern and not a federal. And so it all went to the states. And of course, now we have 39 states and District of Columbia that have sports gambling. There was $150 billion of legal bets last year, $3 billion, like I said, just on March Madness. 49% of men 18 to 49 have an active sports betting account. And there are also many minors, people younger than 18, who it's illegal for them to get involved with sports gambling. But if they get a parent's social security number or driver's license number or whatever, there are a lot of younger people that are involved with sports gambling. It's to the point where you may have seen the ads from the NCAA telling gamblers, please don't get mad at the players if you don't win your bet, that they're worried about violence happening against the players from gamblers who lost bets. And the thing that got me all of this is it's not just, you don't just bet on who's going to win the game or even the point spread, but you bet on little micro events. And they talked about two men that you did not know playing a ping pong match in Czech Republic. And people were betting, these people in the United States had that up, and they were betting on every point. It's a constant betting. There's not just one bet and then you wait. It was a constant betting. So it just keeps you involved with this every second, every minute. And you're making bets, constantly making bets. One man, and they interviewed some people that are in Gambling Anonymous, which is similar to Alcoholics, but the one guy said he one time mistakenly bet on the winner of a cricket match. And he said, not realizing that it takes 3 days sometimes to determine who the winner is. So he said he watched the match on television for 3 days, waiting to see who won the game so he could see if he won his bet or not. So the main gist of what is gambling addiction. Gambling addiction is as bad as drug addiction. People lose everything. They lose their family, they lose their job. Gambling to them is the only thing that mattered. And this is testimony given by people in Gamblers Anonymous. The stats they gave, and they said these probably are low, said that 1% of the population have a severe gambling problem, only 1%. And that doesn't sound so bad until you think that's 2.5 adults have a gambling problem. And 1 of 5 addicted gamblers have attempted suicide, and that's the highest rate of any kind of addiction.
Because they're gambling on their family, they're gambling their families.
They're gambling away everything they have. Yeah. And this guy says, I cared more for gambling than I did for my wife, for my children, for my home, for my job. It was all that I thought about. It just consumed him, and he was gambling, 24 hours a day except when he was sleeping. And he just lost everything. He showed the car he was sleeping in because he had lost everything. This constant action, they want to keep you in action. And the biggest losers when they gamble are the sport book's best customers because they keep coming back. They keep gambling. And 80% of profits are from the 15% of gamblers who gamble the most. Constant action is the draw. One man said and the other guy agreed with him, he had it too. He had a waterproof cover for his cell phone so he could gamble while he was in the shower. Keep track of his bets and gamble in the shower. The companies want to keep them gambling, and so they give them bonus bets to keep them active. If they get down to 0 in their account, then they will come on and say, here, we notice you're down to 0. We're going to give you bonus money, bonus points, so you can keep gambling. And they said that's sort of like if you're a cocaine addict and your dealer sees that you're a little low, so they take $10 off, or they put a $10 bill in your stash of cocaine to keep you going and keep you coming back. They have they call reload bonuses. You can sign up for that. So if your account gets down to 0, they'll email you or text you and say, we haven't seen you on for a day. We're going to put some money in your account so you can start gambling again. And they'll even tell you that they missed you. They missed you yesterday because you didn't gamble at all. So pretty bad. Last 2 years, dozens of pro and college athletes and coaches have been suspended or fired for gambling violations. and we don't read much about it as you used to. But I typed in on Google sports betting scandals. I got a pop-up ad from one of the gambling sites, offered me $150 to gamble with. So I thought that was okay. So anyway, this gambling addiction, California and Texas do not yet have legalized sports gambling. So there's a huge audience ready to be sucked into this huge more dollars. Because you figure they would probably do half of the gross all by themselves. And so it's sort of like cigarette companies did everything they could to keep you addicted to cigarette smoking, and the gambling companies doing everything they can to keep this huge thing going. So I was going to, you've been quizzing me, and what do you think is 3 or 4 of the biggest betting scandals of the last 100 years or whatever? What would be
by
number
bigging,
one?
I'm going to say names. So I would say Pete Rose.
Okay, he was okay.
I would say there was an NBA official. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I got him down here.
I would say there was you got to include the Iowa State football, baseball, wrestling guys. That'd be 3.
Well, they talked about the Black Sox scandal in 1919 was a big, the Pete Rose, the City College of New York.
Oh yeah.
I had never heard of this before.
I remember that.
But they won the NCAA and the NIT in 1950.
Yeah.
Big basketball school, and in their little league in that area, they had 33 players at 7 schools that were point shaving in games, and one of them was the University of Kentucky when Adolph Rupp. And they had to cancel their whole season, 52-53, because of all the gambling. And
University of Kentucky was involved in that?
That was what they say. University of Kentucky had to cancel their 52-53 season because of this gambling. And the people at the City College of New York, when they found out, they de-emphasized sports so much that they only compete like in a level 3 now. They are hardly competitive at all, just in that little local thing. And
they had incredible basketball during that time.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The NBA referee was Tim Donaghy, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That was in July of 2007.
Yeah.
And Boston College had a big point shaving scandal. Football and basketball the same year. Yeah. There was a man named Rick Kuhn was involved with that. And then 13 members of the football team were betting on sports, including 2 who bet against their own team. And this one guy was talking about shaving points, and he said, you can't make bad passes or miss free throws or that sort of thing. That's too obvious. I shaved points by playing lousy defense.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't suspect me. Another gambling one was Alex Karras and Paul Hornung, who played professional football, Hornung for the Packers and Karras for the Detroit Lions. And Karras had played for Iowa, and both of them big names in the sport. They did not bet against their teams or even on NFL games, I know, but they loved gambling. And they were caught gambling, and so they were suspended for a year by Pete Rozelle. And Pete Rozelle said, this speed has grown so quickly and gained so much of the approval of the American public, the only way it can be hurt is by gambling. That was Pete Rozelle, the commissioner. I remember reading about Hornung the year he came back. Lombardi was the coach. They said he had Hornung running bleacher steps till his tongue hung out of his mouth. He was mad at him, and he could get him in shape because he had lost him for a whole season, which he didn't like. And a little ditty they talked about Karras is that after he came back, he was a captain, so he went out for the pregame coin toss. And the referee looked at Karras and said, okay, call it, heads or tails. And Karras said, I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not allowed to gamble. So anyway, I'm worried about sports. I'm worried about sports gambling in that it's going to hurt, especially the college game. People, if you're not sure, not just for betting, but just for your school or for fairness, if you think a college team is gaining by cheating one way or the other, people are not going to be as interested in sports. I think the main thing is you have to believe that the game is fair, it's fairly refereed, it's fairly played, everybody's trying their best, and what happens happens. But if you think somebody is cutting corners or shaving points or doing anything they can to affect the outcome, why it ruins your interest in the sports, and that would be bad. And it's in reading about these point shaving and this sort of thing, it's interesting how many times it didn't work for them. They said Northwestern, can you believe that? Northwestern had a big problem with skimming points and this sort of thing, but this is football, and they were playing Ohio State. Ohio State was favored by 20-some points, and Northwestern played them really hard and only lost 17-15.
Yeah.
And so the gamblers lost a whole ton of money because of the point spread and that sort of thing. So it's not a sure thing to have somebody working for you, but there's a lot of players that have either been coerced or bribed or whatever to get into helping these sports gamblers. And we need to watch out for that. And if you're having addiction problems, you need to get help because...
a lot of people have changed it from calling it sports to sports entertainment.
Yeah.
Because of the gambling.
That's probably a good idea.
You know, it is. There's a scandal that's going to break, Dale. It's a small, either Division II or Division I conference down in the southeast. I can't remember the conference. And they're finding multiple colleges that are gambling.
Yeah. No, you don't need just to gamble on the big schools. I mean, you can gamble on very small colleges in the game because there's a line for that game, and you can bet the line, bet against it, bet for it, or whatever. There's somebody that'll take your money.
There's gambling.
Yeah, there's gambling on every. And
there's gambling for high school
sports.
There is.
I bet there is. All right. Well, I was been interested in that, and something came up, and so I thought I would work on that. So
thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Don't forget, we've got the Steve Brown Arts Center has a 24-hour Mustang camera, sponsored by Joe's Pizza in Independence on First Street's. I believe it's southeast over there, right outside of Joe's Pizza. It's live and going right now. If you get a chance, look at it. The numbers are going up. There's 87 followers in that.
And speaking of numbers, if I don't get a call on that other thing I was talking about, that poll in the magazine, I'll be very disappointed with my friends and relatives if they don't call me on that. So.
Don't forget, we're showing Judy Frotsky this month let me restate that. We're showing Judy Frotsky's artwork,
yes,
in Evans Coffee. I'm trying to...
We're all off track now.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Our minds are somewhere else.
We're looking for an audience. I'm looking to meet 12 artists, and that's going well. I'm working at that, and it's getting better. I'm looking for this month's artist. If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. That won't be too hard for you to do. Remember, we are having our artist collaborative April 28th. That's a Monday at the American Lutheran Church in Jesup. All artists are welcome. I want to make a shout out to a special listener, Katie Kelly. Has got some surgery coming up this month, and we're thinking about you, Katie. Good luck there, and hope to see you soon. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@stevebrownartscenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber and producer Blake Tempus. As always, thanks to Kelly C. Haas. Kelly allows these gypsies into her castle. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your life, and remember that each day is about little victories.
Very good.